Want to go through it with tiers. Gonna go over some draft philosophy with each position we go over. So we're gonna go over quarterbacks. When should you be drafting them? Is there a time where you should take them earlier, or is there a time where a lot of guys are taken? Maybe I should wait till like the 6th or 7th round to take a quarterback. So when you think of fantasy quarterbacks, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you're drafting?
So the most important thing is remembering what each position brings, right? So running backs are probably the most valuable position because injuries are the most common with running backs, and the best of the best will win you your leagues. If you have someone like a 2019 Christian McCaffrey, if you have a Derrick Henry in his prime going absolutely crazy. Todd Gurley is another great example.
JT.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor 2 years ago. So running backs are the most valuable. So early rounds, if you can get one or two good running backs, or on the other hand, if you can get a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, one of those top level wide receivers who the offense is built around, AJ Brown's another good example. Those are the guys that are going to lead not just their respected position, but also fantasy football and output. Players with high ceilings and high floors is what you're really looking for when it comes to your first and second round picks. So with quarterbacks, you can get a really great Patrick Mahomes level, Jalen Hurts level, whoever it might be, level quarterback in like the second and third round, because that's the philosophy that most people will carry. And at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes averaged 25 points in fantasy football last year. He was the QB1. Below him, and quarterback 10 was, I want to say it was Daniel Jones, and he had 18 points a game. So it's a 7-point cutoff compared to somebody who's going to average you 22 points a game compared to 14. Pretty massive drop off. And some of these guys you can get way later in the draft. So in my opinion, quarterbacks, late second round, third round for someone that's in tier one. And then as you lose some of the top guys, you can really fall to like 6, 7, 8 rounds and get somebody really solid who's going to be consistent for you without ruining your draft.
Yeah, and I would say the most important thing is know your league. Know people who are fanboys and want to take someone early, and then know that like some people are just going to take a quarterback earlier, and that's fine. But typically for me, I wait till the 6th or 7th round to draft a quarterback. Last year, I was able to draft Joe Burrow in the 5th round, and he was the 4th ranked quarterback. So you can have some of these guys fall, and then if you get someone like a Jared Goff, and then you just get another comparable quarterback like someone like Kirk Cousins, and say Jared Goff is playing a really tough defense that week, but Kirk Cousins is playing maybe at 1 o'clock when he like thrives the most. Then you can go ahead and interchange them. So I feel like that's just something to be aware of. You just have to be very perspicacious about the people in your league, and if they're going to want to take, if you have a hardcore Chargers fan, they might take Justin Herbert early. That's okay. And then you got to let them make that mistake or benefit them if they go off that year. And then I'd also look at like injury history, like how high do you really want to draft a running quarterback? Because I feel like running quarterbacks have a lot of boom, but they also can bust for you because they have
Mhm.
a high risk for injury. And then for all of our Dynasty League folks watching right now, would you ever consider, if you can only keep one or two players, would you ever keep a quarterback, or are you always keeping a running back or wide receiver?
I think it depends on your roster because if you're stuck with an RB, like a mid-range RB1, someone that you can get like second or third round, and you have someone like a Patrick Mahomes, that's when there's a conversation to be made. I think there's only about two quarterbacks that I think it's respectable for.
Mm.
But more often than not, whoever's your running back or wide receiver, they're probably a better keeper because they're probably going to be a running back or wide receiver one or two. You have to bring out one or two, maybe three of those guys at each game. Quarterback, you're probably good with having two middle of the pack quarterbacks that are consistent for you that you can rotate based on matchup. So honestly, I think the most important thing to do with is probably not to have a keeper for your quarterback, focusing on the two positions that matter most, or going out there making a risky pick, maybe going for a top one or two tight end.